Maze of Ith is a pretty cool card from the dark, so let's talk about it. Maze of Ith is a land, and when you tap it, target attacking creature becomes untapped. This creature neither deals nor receives damage as a result of combat. This is a pretty interesting effect, and this card is pretty damn strong in most circumstances. This card obviously does nothing if your opponent is playing a creatureless deck, but if their only win condition is attacking with creatures, this card can become problematic. I think my funniest experience with this card was seeing it referred to as Maze of Cowardice in a post that opens with the sentence, "First of all, get rid of the moxes, they don't really help." That post was in response to the Ultimate Weenie deck, and this conversation happened on March 18th of 1995. Most of this post wasn't actually relevant to Maze of Ith, but it is still pretty interesting to see how people thought of the game in 1995. And Maze of Cowardice is pretty funny, as this card does kind of fuck you if you're trying to play fair magic, but calling it Maze of Cowardice and then posting a list with Berserk and Brain Geyser and talking about your Power 9 is pretty funny to me. Also, we're getting way off topic here, but I really love that the deck in this list is running exactly one Disintegrate to specifically deal with Will-O-the-Wisp. It might have been correct, I don't know, but it is so fucking funny. It's pretty funny to think of Maze of Ith being a frustrating thing to play against in a time where land destruction was incredibly prevalent, but I can see this card as being bullshit depending on what your collection looked like. This card is definitely still playable though. It shows up in Legacy and Commander, but it's also occasionally used in Vintage. And it's a bit of a Commander staple since the opportunity cost of a land is less significant in Commander, and the card has more use cases since you can save another player with it as a bargaining chip. I do really appreciate that they tried to do different things to see what was fun or interesting, and, just different. Maze of Ith may have been a miss for a lot of players, but it is still an interesting effect. Still, I don't have too much more to say on the old Maze of Cowardice, so as usual, I'm gonna take this part of the video to encourage you to leave your thoughts on Maze of Ith in the comments. I'd also like to take this time to thank those of you that are active in the comments. I genuinely appreciate the value you bring to my videos by sharing your experiences, and other viewers seem to appreciate it too. I've gotten quite a few comments from people expressing their gratitude to the old heads sharing their first-hand experience, so on behalf of anyone who's reading through the comments on a video and learned something new, I'd like to say thank you, dudes. It's really cool how much you contribute to the value of these videos. I can't really express my gratitude enough. Thank you. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the art, because I'm really excited to talk about the art. Maze of Ith was originally in the dark, and the original art was illustrated by Ants and Maddox. This art is absolutely phenomenal in a few different ways. Before we get too far into it, let's talk about how disgusting and unpleasant the Maze of Ith actually is. If you didn't know, that is a person inside what is effectively intestines. That's a flexible tube that he's stretching through as he tries to find his way out of this three-dimensional maze. It's also probably slimy in there, and something tells me that the ventilation isn't great. That would be a truly awful experience, and this art is so haunting from a psychological standpoint. I think this art is fantastic. Partially because of the psychological horror, but also just because it's well-executed art. It is a tad ambiguous, and I went many years without really looking at or understanding the implications of this art. I never really understood what I was looking at. But it is truly horrifying in, the best way. This card has been reprinted a few times, so we have other arts to talk about. This next art was illustrated by Zoltan Boros and Gabor Skizkazai. Yeah, sorry, I tried. This was a Judge promo, and the art is really fantastic. Some art director sometime decided that maybe Maze of Ith should be just like a normal maze instead of a ball of intestines, which is a bit of a disappointment from my perspective, but probably understandable. This art just depicts a caged maze, which is still pretty cool on its own. It actually makes me wonder if a maze made out of bars would be easier or harder to navigate. Like, it might be excessively disorienting, sort of like a mirror maze, but different. I don't know. It's hard to imagine, but be interesting to see. If anyone's ever been in a cage maze, is it easier or harder? I'd like to know. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I like this. I do prefer the original concept, but this art is fantastically done. Then, From the Vault Realms gave us this piece by Young Hao Han, and it's pretty fantastic. This art does a great job expressing an endless maze, which would be an awful thing to be stuck in. I really like the curve on the maze, like it was built on uneven land and is so large that it must warp to the very earth underneath it. That's just such a really cool concept, and it's well executed. This next art was available only on an oversized 2020 Legacy Championship card, and this was illustrated by Milvolj Saran. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that name, but regardless of my ineptitude, this piece is fantastic. It also expresses an endless maze so large it must wrap to the very earth underneath it, like I, said in the last thing, and it's probably less cool the second time. My sentence. This art is definitely cool the second time. This is awesome. I really like this. The colors are vibrant, and this piece has a classic magic flair that I really appreciate. This art is really sweet. It's super fucking cool. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, though. I really love it. Last on our list today is this full art variant from Dominaria Remastered. This was illustrated by Mark Teeden, and no surprise, but he did a fantastic job. This piece is captivating. The cloud cover over the starry sky and moon is just such a wonderful setting, and it's incredible to look at. The maze itself is massive and just interesting. Imagine trying to navigate such a massive three-dimensional maze, so large that the walls of the maze are a maze in and of themselves. This is super fantastic, and it features pretty much everything I said I loved from the last couple versions. It's still not the same concept as the original art, and I do prefer that concept, but this piece is just incredible. It's easily my second favorite piece, and the only thing holding it back from being my first is that I just prefer the subject matter of the first art, which is not this piece's fault at all. Maze of Ith has some incredible art, and it's also a really interesting card in its own way. And as always, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this card in the comments below. But other than that, all I have to say is that you can like the video. If you liked it, you can of course subscribe if you give a shit. But either way, I hope you have a magical day. Thank you for watching.